Genji 2 is an action game which is based on Japanese history. Being based on history, the stages of the game will also be based on famous battles which actually took place in ancient Japan. So here's this giant enemy crab.
How's your day, Sam?
Busy. So tired. Why? Not much else.
I'm just trying to make conversation so I can segue, but
well, not much else happened
dying.
today. Sorry, man. I don't have much. Day wasn't eventful. Work.
It's like trying to talk to a girl on fucking Tinder or something.
What are you talking about?
How are you? What's up? How you doing today?
No,
fine.
I literally have.
Bitch, you swiped on me. What are you talking about?
I legitimately am telling you that is all that happened today. I worked. That was it.
Well, what happened at work? Did you cook a burger?
Did you cook a good burger? Welcome to Good Burger.
Made a burger skillet.
What's that?
It's just a fucking skillet, but made like a burger.
What?
What?
What's a skillet?
The skillet is
like besides the pan. What kind of food is that?
Well, I mean, it's skillet for the base part, just home fries with like stuff put on top. So this one's burger toppings, you know.
So it's like a whole burger combo. You just dump it all into one pan.
Kind of, because it gets the potatoes and it gets a diced up burger patty. It gets cheese, lettuce, tomato, onion, and then a burger sauce with an egg on top.
That's like KFC's famous bowl where they just took all their shit and dumped it in a bowl and said, "Eat this, fatty."
It's because you can eat it faster. You don't have to grab anything. Just nom.
Yeah, just blend it up and give them a big old thick milkshake spoon.
No.
That could be your place's thing, sucking down burgers.
No.
Suck a burger. There we go.
Suck a burger.
No, not suck a burger.
That's
terrible.
Flizz's new franchise, Sucker Burger.
Canadian Whataburger, suck a burger.
It's just what happens if you squint at the title of Whataburger.
It's what you want for fresh, delicious goodness coming at you in a cup. For breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
You know, I imagine one of those old Daisy cups, like those really tiny ones, for some reason. I don't know why.
A Daisy cup? What's a Daisy cup?
Oh, it's just a brand of cup. It's like those like really tiny like paper cups.
Oh, I'm thinking like a Stanley mug. A Stanley mug full of burger.
Oh.
Suck it down. I'll see you on my 600-pound life next week.
Imagine you get someone's order wrong, you just make them a normal burger. Like, hey, this isn't what I ordered.
Someone put a burger in my drink.
All right, well, video games. So, welcome to episode 14 of the Giant Enemy Crab Podcast, your home for gaming news, and that's pretty much it. There's some other stuff, too. We'll get into it. I am your host, Fliz, along with the homies Kyler.
Hello.
And Soon.
Hello.
And my boy Strider.
Hello.
And we're back again. We're doing it. I was going to say Big Willie style, but that'll date the fuck out of me.
Everyone knows how old you are now.
That's fine.
You just said it anyways.
Yeah, it is what it is.
We got him,
I never grew out of it. Yeah. We got some stuff on. We're hoping for Concord, and so Strider here has taken it upon himself to really do a deep dive as far as he could into the shallow world of Concord.
It's nothing. There's nothing. It's such a pain in the ass to find.
We have to hook them in somehow. You're giving it away.
I've got all the information though. I've got all of it. At least all I can find.
Tell us why it failed.
Bucket full.
We'll get there. But y'all got any random news before we get into our main topics of the night?
I do. This week has been like... It's been very polarizing because we have a few things. So Blizzard, apparently, according from an article from Dexerto, I could be pronouncing that wrong, are apparently working on a new RPG FPS potentially. And this is coming from a LinkedIn posting by Chris McCabe, who is the senior director of product management for Overwatch 2, which is incredibly ironic that the game director for the game that canceled all their PvE content that they worked on for like, God, how long has it been? It's been like 3-4 years that they worked on that.
I think.
And now they're just working on like a whole new game to, I guess, try to make something out of it. It's kind of amazing.
It's gonna
What
launch
if
and be a
they're not?
PvP experience instead.
What if it's just all the PvE content that they made reskinned?
It
And they're calling
probably
it an
will be.
It
FPS
could be.
RPG.
It could very
Because that's
well
what it
be.
was, right? Like a FPS that you level up in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is we figured it out like that. We're detectives. This
Overwatch
is just the old shit they're
2.5.
trying to use again.
I guess they figured that they would test out how their little story packs went, and if that went bad, they'll just take everything they made and sell a new game. I want to bet that that's what happened, because nobody liked any of the story, like little story missions that they released for like $15 each, or was it 15? I think it was 5 actually. People weren't really a fan of it because, yeah, that did not go over well. So yeah, we might be getting a new game at some point in the future.
New is debatable, but yeah, I guess so.
Recycled.
I mean that PvE stuff was all supposed to be free with Overwatch 2 originally, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why it probably didn't go over well when they started being like, money now. Pay us.
It's
No, it did
crazy.
not.
I called that was going to be garbage from the start, and they never even produced a product that worked. Like,
Dude, they didn't even
come on.
produce like anywhere near what they said they were going to do.
Yeah.
No, it feels
Someday.
even. It feels even worse because if you were
Someday.
playing at the time, just because you were waiting for so long, like you got nothing for years, just playing the same game over and over, and then they just cancel all of it. It's terrible.
Mm.
But beyond that, Star Wars Outlaws came out, and
I have seen nothing but TikToks of how janky that game is.
I've actually played a bit of it because I have
Ooh.
I have Ubisoft Plus.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I know Fliz, you've seen some of the buggy mess that the game apparently can be sometimes.
Not only
Perhaps.
that, it just looks so lame.
Yeah, it
Like,
was
it
just
looks
like
super lame.
it was just like I was saying, how like it looks like a Star Wars game, which is cool, but it looks like boring. It looks like a very bland and boring game at the same time. And
Yeah.
sales wise, it's doing really bad. To kind of put into some context, they had their quarterly review, and they have since lowered their sales expectations for March of next year from 7.5 million to 5.5 million, which is like a huge cut. And it's so disappointing that Ubisoft stock has officially crashed. It is the lowest it's been in the last decade. And just to like throw some numbers, I think they went from a high of like $91 to like a low of like 16.
Mm.
It's it's really
Are
rough.
people just sick of Star Wars? Like, I know people like it and have love for the series, and but there's just so much Star Wars entertainment that I can't be bothered, not even a little bit, to look at anything that's coming. Especially when they do things like they had that Ahsoka series, I think, that had I don't know where I got this. It was probably some Reddit post, but they showed all the cost per minute of viewable episodes or television, and that show blew all the other Star Wars properties out of the water as far as how expensive per minute it was. And then they just canceled season 2. So you're just left off with this show that everybody kind of hated, and then they take it away from you in the end. It's
Yeah.
not looking good for Star Wars from an outsider's perspective.
It could be some kind of like franchise fatigue. I could totally see that because you have everything from all the movies that aren't going well, all the shows, all the games, and none of it seems to be very well received. Like none of it at all. It's kind of crazy. But even then, if you look at Ubisoft from like a wider view, it's not just Star Wars. X Defiance, if you remember that game, is also just completely dropped off the whatever it was on, because it went from 200,000 players in May to like 1,500.
Yeah, aren't the devs are like struggling to keep players?
Yeah, so Ubisoft is in like some terrible trouble right now. They are not doing well.
We played quite a bit of X Defiant, and I quit as well, and I couldn't even tell you exactly why. And I'm kind of curious as to what's missing from that game. I know there were like issues with latency and you know, some of it felt unfair, but like that's every multiplayer FPS, right? So that's nothing new. It had the same problem as Halo, where after a while we were just done and had no interest in going back. And I'm wondering what it is, because Halo offered Battle Pass, all this stuff you could unlock multiple game modes, and still like, nah, I'm good. Same thing with X-Defiant. I'm sure there was other stuff I could have done, but I just didn't want to anymore.
Oh, and just to clarify, that's not player count. That's a Twitch viewer count that I gave.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't know, because the game was like fairly positively received. It's just, it could be just too close to like so many other shooters that are out there. You know, maybe just the market's too big for them to even survive.
It's funny that you had mentioned Twitch viewer count. And I'll give you a second, Jacob, but like that's how I judge my popularity in games now. Is like, is anybody watching it on Twitch? No, well then I'm probably not going to play it for very long. So it's funny you would say that. What were you saying, Jacob?
I was thinking that one of the big issues probably for X-Defiant was the fact that there's no skill-based matchmaking. Because
they touted that, right?
Yeah, they touted that, but the average casual player isn't going to stick around when they're getting pub stomped on the average more often than not if there's no skill-based matchmaking, which
That's
also
true.
probably partly led to the ping issues and odd balancing decisions. But because I think it was Activision had put out a like 22-page like report on how skill-based matchmaking affects people, and like the general consensus from that thing was that more people than not that more people enjoy skill-based matchmaking by a fair margin than people that don't, was the overall consensus. It's been a minute since I've seen that, but I'd have to go over it again.
I saw something similar from a dev saying that people were begging him to turn on, maybe it was for Valorant, turn on skill-based matchmaking or something, and he kept saying he'd do it, and they were all mad about how the matchmaking sucked. And then he said he did it, and he didn't. And he said nothing changed. Everybody was just as ridiculous, and they actually said, oh, we like this better, even though he never actually changed anything.
Yep.
I could totally see that. That's definitely a thing. Yeah, I don't know. I remember playing X-Defiant, and for me, it just felt like Call of Duty, and I'm just like so Call of Duty'd out over playing it over the years. I just couldn't give it the time of day, so I just stopped playing.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's what it was for me. So Ubisoft, I don't know what they're gonna do. We'll see what happens next. I actually don't know their next game lineup, because they already had Assassin's Creed and all this other stuff happen, right?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, so
that's one of those companies I like never look at anything they put out and really care.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Isn't it weird how like you know the name Ubisoft, but I couldn't tell you what they're working on, like unless I have to like look it up. Maybe that's why they're doing so terribly.
Yeah, all I know them for is Assassin's Creed. I always think they're just making another bad Assassin's Creed game.
That could be it. I mean, that's why they survived for so long.
Fighting all the controversy right now with Shadows.
Yeah, but speaking of games that have done well, Black Myth Wukong, they've released some of their sales figures. Does anyone have a guess of what it could be?
Yep. I know it. So I won't say anything.
Oh, well, that's not a guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
guess.
You know the answer.
It's a guess because I know the correct answer. It's still a guess. It just happens to be right.
That's not how guessing works.
That's just knowing the information.
I'm gonna say it had sold 10 million copies last time we spoke.
Okay.
And we'll give it a generous 20. And what is it? 40 in China, and it's 60 here. I'm gonna say $2 billion.
$2 billion.
I want to say 25 million. I don't know money wise.
It has made $800 million.
Dang.
Ooh.
And yeah, which is like absurd. That is an absurd amount of money. And
that's Marvel money.
What's even crazier is if you go and actually look up like the sales figures for the PlayStation 5. Apparently the PlayStation 5 became one of the most like popular electronic devices in China. so that they could play Black Myth Wukong.
Hell yeah.
They had
Let's go.
They had a shortage, didn't they? Like people, like they were just flat out selling out of consoles or PlayStation 5s
Yeah.
in a bunch of stores.
And that's the other crazy thing is keep in mind is they didn't release this game for Xbox either.
Oh.
Is not released for Xbox because they weren't able to do it. And the game is going to have DLC content as well. So yeah,
what
this
on that.
is an insane amount of revenue for a game from a dev studio I never heard of for pretty much I think the first AAA China game ever. It's done remarkably well. And
I see.
Go ahead.
I just see like a huge negative side to this, which is where like with movies for a while, suddenly our entertainment is going to start catering massively to Chinese audiences because that's where the money is. And I feel like that could definitely be a thing. Because I remember seeing Chinese credit cards in the Transformers movie, and they go to China for no other reason than other, world sales.
Oh yeah, that could definitely
happen.
That could definitely be a thing. And these numbers come from Game Rant, by the way. According to them, a lot of the figures and like where the sales are going, literally about 70% of them are from China. So the US itself only makes up about 6% of all sales.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure the game industry for the most part actually already does cater to the Chinese audience. So it's not actually as big of a deal as you think, just because we're kind of already there. Like we've been doing that for years. That's why you hear about Tencent all the time, because that's like the most popular way to get into the market is through Tencent. That's what Blizzard does. And yeah, so it's already a thing. I don't think you really have to worry about it just because we're already doing it. It's already happened.
Okay, you've swayed me. I just don't want to see things like in movie. I don't care if it's catered properly. Like if a game's set in China, cool. But if we suddenly go to China and start doing stuff in China just for like one section of the game and it's extremely noticeable, that could be a little frustrating, but not the end of the world at all.
But the reason I like these games coming out and being sold on other markets, because you'd have like Overwatch selling over there on their platform, but with Black Myth Wukong selling on Steam, that $800 million, guess who gets 30% of that cut?
Fucking Gabe.
My boy Gabe.
Big G, dude.
Gabe made fucking $200 million off Black Myth Wukong. That is ridiculous.
Do we know the split on who bought like PlayStation and who bought PC? Because of the whole issue the issue with PlayStation selling it? Because it sounds like the PlayStation version might have been more popular in China.
It might have been. I don't think we actually know the split yet, but it's just kind of the idea that Steam has made definitely a ton of money off of this game. And the reason why I bring them up is because last week we talked about Risk of Rain's DLC expansion that they did and how it was kind of like they had some problems with it.
I recently today learned what one of those problems was, and it was funny.
Yeah. What was it?
So they had I think they patched it out, but one of the bugs with the DLC was making the game's final boss invincible. And I was like, huh.
No, it's a feature. You get to fight him longer.
That's a pretty big screw up.
Well, the reason why, apparently, maybe because the Risk of Rain 2 devs are leaving to go to Valve. So much so that they're ending the game they were working on to go to Valve.
I remember seeing that. Yeah, so that's it's pretty funny. Everyone's like, yeah, I'm going to the better place. I'm going to Valve now. They have money.
Well,
dude, I
kind of have some stuff on that, but we'll get into it.
Do you? Yeah. So Hoppo Games is pretty much dissolved at this point. They're all joining the Valve team. I don't know what they're going to be working on, because they're going to be pretty much like just completely quiet until something comes out. That's just kind of how Valve operates. The last time something like this happened, that's how we got, oh gosh, what is it? It was the developers from, I can't remember now. I'm trying to think. I had it in my head a bit ago.
Well, In the meantime, my neighbor's truck is coming through loud and clear.
Oh, shit. Vroom, vroom, motherfucker. He's trying to let you know he's home.
Well. Man, no, he's letting me know he's leaving.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it was developers of Firewatch. They joined Valve as well, like 6 years ago.
I was gonna say, I remember hearing that.
Yeah, and
I was familiar.
Yeah, I believe they helped make one of that Half-Life game, if I remember correctly, and also I think they're helping with Deadlock as well.
You're talking about Half-Life Alyx, or
yeah,
okay, the VR.
So people are thinking that, of course, that perhaps these devs are going to be working on a new Half-Life game.
People can dream.
We've been saying that for like 15 years. I don't care about Half-Life 3 anymore.
I had to say it for
people
the
who originally
meme.
loved Half-Life don't care about Half-Life anymore.
I think what Gaben said is true. Every time someone mentions it, even if you can't hear it, it gets delayed another. Like set amount of time.
It's going to come out 3024 for sure.
Nice, I'll be dead.
not if we preserve you in beeswax.
I want my head
he's still dead.
in a jar just so I can live to play Half-Life 3.
You want to be Futurama?
Yeah. You know what? Never mind. Only not Half-Life 3. It's only when they remake Dino Crisis. Then you can that's when you can resurrect me. We're gonna learn necromancy.
The fact that Dino Crisis comes up is funny.
I love Dino Crisis. I just want to play it. I'll shoot them dinosaurs.
Dino Crisis.
Unfortunately, I believe one of the main devs behind Dino Crisis, like one of the head people, has just said that there's no place for it in this current market. No one wants Dino Crisis.
He was surprised more people wanted more Dino Crisis.
Give me his phone number. I need to talk to him.
I'll get right on finding out that man's phone number.
Do the research.
Let's make it happen. We'll crowdfund Dino Crisis remake.
No, you probably could, actually.
Yeah, I bet. I'm gonna start it. I'm gonna start a petition on that site where all those petitions that go nowhere starts.
Yeah, thinking about it. Yeah,
Petition.org.
there's enough people that want Dino Crisis. You definitely probably could get it.
They just don't know they want it yet. I'll have to do like a long play of the original and post it, and then figure out how to get it to the masses.
This
Get
is
it
just
to
the
them
long,
what you're missing.
the long con of the podcast. This is the ultimate goal.
Dinosaurs.
Have you ever hit a velociraptor with a stun baton? Because you can do that here.
Actually, there is a guy who's making some kind of dinosaur like fighting game.
I've seen that with the swords in the mouth.
Yeah, I only seen clips of it. I never like looked into it at all, but it does look really cool.
I'm now typing dinosaur fighting game into
I think it's Dino Blade or something.
Is that what it is?
What it is. Yeah, there's a Steam. I think I might have wishlisted it. I swear there was a Steam page for it.
Yeah, maybe that's what you need. Get that guy. Just have him get the IP and then just redo the whole thing.
Because it won't be. It won't be what I want. It'll be close-ish in the same. There'll be dinosaurs, but it's not what I want.
Yeah, no, none of this is what I thought it would be. These are what. None of these are what it is.
Oh,
Classic
okay.
Dino Cadillacs Light. But yeah.
Nope.
But
That's
other than
not
that, Soon, what did you have for us?
Oh, so you brought up Blizzard, which I have a little fun thing here. Does anybody remember the username Neutral Agent? Does that name ring a bell for anybody?
I don't know who that is.
So that is the name of like one of the famous players of WoW, who's famous specifically for playing a Pandaren character and never leaving the starting zone. So never choosing Alliance or Horde and only picking herbs to reach max level. Sorry, picking herbs and mining. So he popped back up recently, and he once again hit the new level cap of 80 in the newest WoW expansion by doing just that. I think it took him 10 days and 10 hours of grinding to reach level 80.
Wow, that's actually not as long as I thought it would be.
No, so like in the past, I think it took him a lot longer. But I think there's been enough like changes to the systems that it doesn't take as long.
They're making it easier for little babies.
Wasn't there a huge issue recently with the early access period for the new
I don't know.
expansion?
I haven't looked at that actually. Like I was interested in the expansion. I don't know if I go back and play it. I might at some point be tempted to go back and actually check it out. But I don't know. Was there an issue with like early access to it?
Because what I think it was like it was like 7 days early access or something, 3 to 7, something like that. But during the entire early access period and for like 2 days after, there was an issue where they had the leveling set wrong. So everyone was leveling up extremely fast compared to what they were supposed to. And then they changed it very shortly after early access, after the early advanced access. And people were pissed. Like, this was a big issue, apparently, from what I was reading.
I think that's the first. I think it's the first time they've had that happen. So at least it was a new screw up. But I don't know how they managed to fuck that up, but it happened.
They find a way. It's Blizzard.
Yeah, that's just. I was gonna say earlier. Do you think that new FPS RPG they're gonna reveal and drop it when they do something bad again?
They might.
It's definitely not when they do something good, because that doesn't happen.
They do so much bad shit. No, another fun little thing. No Man's Sky just added fishing. That's anyone's cup of tea.
I saw a picture. I saw a guy fishing. Is like here's me fishing in a storm on a ship hovering above the water.
Yeah, it's right
that's
here.
exactly what it was.
That exact picture.
And I was like, cool, fishing in video games. Never seen that before.
Why is fishing such like a crazed thing in video games? I've never understood it. Because it's like a lot of people do it. Like they really like it, and I just have never understood why.
There has been I've done fishing in F14, and it's fun. I mean, it's like a full kind of involved job. It's not just like sit there and click on the bobber. Yeah, you get skills and stuff. But like, I could kind of see it. I don't get it to the fanatic extent that some folks do, but I can definitely see it as like a relaxing thing to do. Kind of. You don't want to listen to a podcast and just fish in a game. That's fine. Well,
maybe that's what it is. Yeah, I don't know. It's just been something that's always struck me. Like in one of the Final Fantasies, 15, I think it is. Fishing was a thing there.
Thing in 15, yeah.
Yeah, people loved it. I hated it. I was like, oh my God, I am not doing this anymore. I tried it and everything. I was not a fan.
Wasn't there there was DLC that was all fishing raid boss based, basically?
Was
not
there?
Not like actual raid boss, but here's
I'm sure there was fishing DLC.
No, there was, but it was like King of the Deep level, fight this super hard fishing fish.
It's probably because it triggers the same thing that regular fishing does. Like I Tales of Arise, I did all the fishing that you guys fucking ignored, and I liked it. I played a gacha mobile game. Me and my wife played it for months, and you my hands would hurt. I played that shit so much.
But is it like a fishing gacha game?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it was expensive too. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh no.
We both did that for a long time. I played Sega bass fishing, and I played you remember those old Tiger? I think they were Tiger, and it was like a handheld fishing rod, and it had a screen and stuff on it, and you cast it by throwing it. I'm doing the motion like people can see me. And then it had a little winder on the side, and you did I've done all these things, and also I've fished for real.
I mean, so have I. But then again, to be fair, I've never actually enjoyed fishing because I fished multiple times before.
That's what I'm saying. Real fishing kind of sucks unless you're ocean fishing, because you probably don't catch anything. And catching stuff, I know people are like, oh, I do it to relax. And it's like, no, you kind of do it to catch something. Otherwise, you just sit in a chair.
Yeah.
This is the relaxation of fishing, except you for sure are going to catch something. You're not going to spend all day out on the water doing nothing, and you're not going to get physically tired. It's that Skinner box reward. It's that same fucking process in your brain going, ooh, I got a thing.
Oh,
It's always
So
back to that.
It is, man. We're so simple. We're so simple.
Like them dopamine hits, man.
It really is just that. Everything you do, I firmly believe that most things are done in life for like relief and dopamine hits. Everything else is like secondary. And maybe that's why video games are so powerful and addictive, because it's constant dopamine hits.
Yeah, I've seen people say that like there are reasons why you're not motivated to do things, and it is literally not because you're lazy, but because you have like an issue with dopamine. Like you physically cannot do anything. It's not because you're lazy. It's just you do not have the dopamine levels to actually do things that you should be doing. And your brain just does these other things that let it get dopamine way easier.
There's no sense of accomplishment in normal things.
That's definitely a problem with video games. What other video games news do we have soon?
I found something like Smite 2. I mean, it's what we already know. You know, it looks nicer, it's snappier, but it just seems boring compared. Like, I mean, when that's not like really surprising. With I think there's only 23 gods in Smite 2 right now, and one thing I didn't know was apparently they did away with like the roles tag. So like the gods don't have roles, and apparently they're supposed to be able to be built more universally, except they don't do enough to really make that work because they still fall into the same roles, and now you just don't know. You won't know going in, is this character supposed to be a mage if they're new?
That's interesting.
Or something. So like let's turn a game with a learning curve already into more of a trial and error kind of guessing thing, I'd assume.
I don't know. I think that game costing money right now is hurting it.
Oh no,
Dude,
definitely for the early
anybody
access.
would pay money for that.
I couldn't believe that. I remember. I think someone was in here when I was ranting about like how are you going to release a free game in early access, but you can't access the free game unless you pay money? What in what world does that make any sense? That is insane to me.
Yeah. And then when you complain about it online, people just tell you, well, you paid money for an early access free game. What do you think? You deserve this.
Yeah. It's not even to play the game like as it is early. It's to play test it. It's not even done yet.
It's not even cheap either.
It's not even a new game.
Yeah.
It's the same game with different colors.
That Smite 2 is just a mess to me. I don't understand.
It's very odd. It's an odd choice and path to take things, and again, it's not even like cheap. Like I know it shows a lesser money value for you guys, but like for me it's like $40.
Yeah, it's still, no matter what it is, it's not free, and that makes it too expensive.
Yeah. And then there's like, even on top of that, there's editions, like founders editions and stuff.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I helped build some
of the
garbage.
skins transfer, and yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's bad. I mean, I've heard not terrible things about the gameplay itself. It's just I can't. It's a Concord to me. Why am I going to pay money for a game that should be free?
Yeah,
when there's other better free options.
What I read about like gameplay wise is, yes, gameplay wise it's like it's perfectly like fine. Like, it's just, I guess, improved upon Smite, but it doesn't exactly sound like it does enough to really be like, oh, this is the next big thing. One of my favorite descriptors was, it's not Deadlock at a 10.
It just, even hearing them like try to hype it up, you could tell they were just reaching for stuff like new magic system. They're just like trying to avoid the fact that everything really just looks the same and plays the same. Yeah. It's
speaking of Deadlock, like this is just like Deadlock, but like it also, Deadlock couldn't have become more like available at a more rough time for them. Because Deadlock, you don't have to pay money for.
No.
Well, it's not even just like they struggle. They're going to struggle a lot actually with how they're doing, because you have Deadlock, which isn't even out and already has like 500,000 people playing it.
That's what I mean. You're not going to pay money. You just need to get someone who's in it to invite you, and it's backed by Valve, and the game feels pretty good. Janky sometimes, but
Well, it's not just Deadlock. They have to also, compete with their own game, the Smite 1, because, it's kind of hard if you're a player of Smite 1 and you've invested God knows how much time and money into it, and then they just say, hey, stop playing this game, go play our other game that's almost exactly the same but shinier, but you don't get any of your stuff. Yeah.
And it costs money.
So they compete with their own game. They have to compete with League of Legends still.
Dota.
They have to compete with Dota.
Deadlock. Overwatch.
And Supervive also.
I was going to say Supervive.
And Supervive.
Paladins.
Like, they were fucked. Like, I guess
that's such a...
I don't know.
That company's always been a little strange to me. Like, the
yeah,
games,
high-res.
some of them are... Yeah, high-res. Some of the games are fun, but they're always so jank.
They're one of the companies I've seen, like, I can't, like, they have had games in the past that I've played that don't exist anymore, and I can barely even remember the names of. There was one where you, like, played as, like, a spy that was an MMO, and I can't remember the name of it.
Remember that game they came out with one time, where you are basically playing Super Smash Bros.?
Divine Knockout.
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
Oh, yeah.
Divine
Knockout.
That still exists.
That was fun until we stopped playing forever because it wasn't... I don't know. It was. This is a problem with a lot of their games. It's not even that they're not fun. I just don't want to play them anymore. Pretty quick, too.
I have better options.
I have better options. That's really
Smash.
what it boils down to.
Global Agenda, that's what that game was. Sorry, I just had to look it up.
Yeah, Smite 2's in some rough space. Maybe they saw it coming. Maybe that's why they said, we'll do early access and see what money we can get first.
What money we can squeeze out of people.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. Another thing I had is the Shadowrun and Battletech creators have a new game they unveiled. It's called Graft, like a cyberpunk horror RPG set in like a dying space station. And there's not much really shown about it, but like one of the most interesting things it did show is the upgrade system. Involves like whatever you like graft and do augment on you, it comes with the previous owner's like memories and like perspectives on things and stuff.
Ooh.
So like upgrading like can change your character's personality.
Okay.
That doesn't sound like an upgrade.
I mean, you get the physical part
Suddenly
of it. But
I'm really racist. What happened?
that's one of the things though. It's like, in the end,
like,
when you escape, will your character end the game as a serial killer or a philanthropist? Like those are very real possibilities.
I thought you were saying that was actually a feature. Like you could just become super racist all of a sudden.
No. I mean, I don't. Well, to be fair, I don't know all the memories that like the parts could have, but they do include stuff along the lines of like, so say like you grab one part on and it's like, oh yeah, here's the quote, like, now you remember the hot breath of a lover you never touched, or now you find yourself suddenly obsessing over cruel and sadistic impulses. Now you remember the monotony of an endless solitary confinement, like that kind of stuff. Without your character ever actually having done that, they remember and feel that.
Do we know what type of game it is? Is it like if you had to compare the gameplay, like what kind of RPG?
Let's see. It looks. The trailer doesn't really show. It's a top down kind of like isometric.
Okay, so that's probably like an isometric, more story based. That makes more sense. Okay,
Cyberpunk survival horror RPG is like the main tag they've kind of given it in the article I found.
Okay, that seems pretty cool. So
I was immediately on board. Like this is pretty cool.
I do want more of those games because I remember playing. Oh god, it's the same developers that made like Pillars of Destiny and stuff.
Pillars of Eternity or
Pillars of Eternity? Excuse me. Yeah. What was the game they made? It was like Villainous or something. Tyranny. Yeah. That's what it was. They made Tyranny. I loved that game. Tyranny is
interesting.
It is. It is such a great game, and they never made a sequel for it, and I'm very sad about that.
Just like there's even like the concept of like you are, like like. What was it? You're like the right-hand man, like one of the main like underlings, like one of the top dogs of the evil overlord that took over the world.
Yep.
and you're going from there, just making decisions. Like, what's the least fucked up versus the most fucked up you could do?
Pretty much, yeah. Like, and there was a huge range of choices that you could do, and I really wanted more games like that, but it's very difficult to find games that give you that much freedom of choice and the choices themselves actually mattering. That's like the important part. You know, it's a Mass Effect 3 shit where, you do all the 80 hours of gameplay just for a different color at the end. Like, no, Tyranny is one of those games where like it was actually like worth it to think about decisions you made. So I'm pretty kind of excited for Grafted, you said it was called?
Yeah, Grafted.
Yeah, I'll probably check that out then, because I definitely.
Oh no, Graft. Sorry, not Grafted, just Graft.
Just Graft. I'll check it out because that seems pretty cool.
I hope it's fun.
Yeah, it looks like the enemy types will be like of course mixtures of like flesh and machinery and just like horrible alien things as well. So it should be pretty dark, pretty neato.
What would be grimdark?
I think that might actually be a term that they use somewhere in there.
In the grimdark future.
We'll have to get your guys' opinion because I'm sure that all of you are going to have Warhammer 2 next week.
I have already, like I said, I played the tutorial and the first mission, and I am very excited to play that with friends.
Yeah, I wish it wasn't 3 players. I'm sad.
I am getting it for sure. Yeah.
I'm ready to be a fucking nerdy douchebag over it.
Okay.
No, okay, not douchebag, but like I'm ready to be like nerding out over it. I fucking love Warhammer. And this game is very like what I did playing the first mission was like, oh, this is so fucking cool. Like, I'm excited to see your guys' reactions.
Playthrough type situations. No, it's fine. I've seen a couple playthrough type situations. That's kind of like the general consensus. Whoa, that's cool. Whoa, this is cool. Oh, that's cool. Like that's just kind of the whole.
The thing is, that's what you want from a Warhammer game because like a lot of them have been so lackluster.
All them murders and kills and violence all seem cool to me. I love violence and murder. It's fun.
Hey man, chain swords. I fucking love them.
I mean, there's enough murder and grim darkness in Warhammer.
Oh yeah,
so spades.
It coined. Wait, did it coin grimdark or no?
Definitely not.
one of the main ones that helped kind of usher it in, I guess, in the popularity. Maybe I don't
know. I'm not
it's
sure.
It's definitely what I think of when I hear the term.
Yeah, it's
that's for me too.
So how did your research go, Jacob?
All right.
Hit us with it.
Concord is definitely a video game that existed. That is about what that's about what
you can dig up.
There is like because it's a game that was announced, came out, no one cared, and left. But the game was basically the overall very basic. Just here's a quick summary. But to start with, so studio that creates Concord, Fireworks Studios, it was originally formed as a subsidiary of a parent company known as Probably Monsters, who they themselves were made up a bunch of ex-Bungie employees, including their old chairman. Mm-hmm. And they were founded in 2018, and Concord was their first game. And from what I understand, Concord started development about 8 years ago. The first idea. So it's actually older than the company, and like started like prototyping 6 years ago, and entered like actual like serious development 4 years ago. Was about the time frame I was able to find.
That's as old as my daughter. I had a whole ass child in the time you took to make a failed video game.
It's your fault. This Concord was your fault.
Here's a positive take. You were more successful than Concord.
I know. That's not a high bar.
No, but it's still a positive takeaway.
I mean, we'll definitely get to how it did. But current estimations based on development time, the employees they had during certain time frames, puts the estimated budget that was used for Concord overall at about $100 million was how much this cost. And keep this in mind for later. Because so Concord was announced, was pseudo-announced in a way around April 22nd in 2021, when Probably Monsters announced that Fireworks Studios was working with Sony to release a multiplayer game on PC and PS5. That was the first big time that anyone heard anything. It didn't have its name. It didn't have like what exactly it was going to be. We just knew that something was in the works. And then about 2 years later, in April 2023, Sony acquires Firewalk Studios from Probably Monsters. So now they're a direct company under Sony. And then 1 month later, during the PlayStation Showcase on May 24th, 2023, Concord was officially announced with a 7-minute CGI trailer and no gameplay. Because do you remember the trailer,
no.
Kyler?
I do. I was actually pretty impressed with the trailer. It was pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, no, I remember the trailer. I'm like, this looks pretty interesting. But then you remember when they announced that it was a 5v5 hero shooter, and all our enthusiasm deflated.
Yeah. I remember that because I thought it was going to be like some Guardians of the Galaxy adventure game, like a space game. And I was like, I haven't seen one of those besides the actual Guardians of the Galaxy game. And
dude, yeah,
I'm like so marveled out. I was like, I'll do a different flavor of it. Like, I'm kind of hyped. I have an interest in the characters. The robot guy looks pretty cool. Got a little vacuum thing. Sure. And then the 5v5 shooter, I was like, oh, it's Overwatch. Never mind. Never mind.
I remember all of our enthusiasm just gone. And like, that was the general consensus from what I remember the stream chat on the stream we were watching. Like, was like, okay. Why was this looked way more interesting when it wasn't a hero shooter? And then so fast forward to next year. It's about June and July when they released their open and closed betas. They had a closed beta first, which received about 1,100 concurrent players at peak. And then during July, they had an open beta where they peaked at 2,400 players. That was that would be the highest numbers this game would ever receive.
That's what's kind of confusing though, is like, I know the game can't be that bad, right? But people who followed this game and knew it existed, which I didn't really, they already got a chance to play it, and they got 2 chances. And then when it actually came out, they didn't come back.
They did not come back. They said, nah.
Yeah, because I'll get to it, but it releases to about 700 people on Steam, because these were all Steam numbers from what I understand. The thing is, there is a 400 player deficit that's from the closed beta, which you had to pay to buy the game for early access to it, because the requirement was pre-ordering. So between the closed beta and the actual release, 400 people about 400 of those 1,100 concurrent players had refunded. So it actually did worse because of those betas. And then
that sucks.
So July 2024 comes and goes, and then the game releases on August 23rd of this year. To, as I said, under 700 peak players on Steam and about 1,300 on PlayStation was the overall highest concurrent player count. Another thing is that Concord isn't available in most countries. I've seen everywhere from 117 countries it wasn't available in to 180 because of PlayStation restrictions, just other things where it just wasn't for sale, and similar. Just most countries couldn't even play the game if they wanted to. And then in August, it's also announced that one of the 15 episodes of the upcoming Amazon Prime series, Secret Level, would be focused on Concord.
It still exists, at least. They
we're gonna see it.
We're gonna
have to watch the Concord. More people are going to see that than play the game.
Cool. How do I play?
It's going to have in the back of our heads that the game is dead.
You're gonna see like the Concord devs. They're gonna be pulling up Amazon Prime whatever day that comes out, just like tub of ice cream in their hand, fucking cats next to them. Like this could have been the world. Just watching their little characters crying, just crying.
We made those.
That's my favorite character, and it's dead forever.
We What's his name? It back.
I don't know. Nobody does.
Greasy Jimmy.
Oh no, that's an awful name.
No one deserves to have the word adjective of greasy.
What even were the character names in the first place?
I don't know a single one.
Oh
it's
my
not like
god!
They were advertising it.
I did look it up just to see the character models, and I was kind of sad because there was a robot, and he literally just threw trash at other characters.
Yeah,
that's
what
I like that.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
So. Oh, here. Continue.
Yep. So the game releases on August 23rd at a $40 price point, and also included immediate cosmetic microtransactions that you can purchase. Just immediately.
Xbox standard. Yep.
And so the design of the game was originally supposed to be a live service game that would be receiving either weekly lore updates or patches and so forth. There'd be new stuff for players to do each week. The issue is, overall, the game only sells 25,000 copies. About 10,000 on Steam and about 15,000 on PlayStation, I believe was the numbers, which totally amounts to approximately, they made about $880,000 off of their game sales. That's not even 1% of their estimated cost. They didn't even recruit 1% off their sales.
And then they refunded it.
Yep. And then
oh my god.
No, you also have to consider how much they spent to make that episode too for the
trailer, the episode, the licensing.
Yeah, because
Steam fees.
Because I'm pretty sure that $100 million budget estimate does not include that at least. I'm sure that was a pretty penny.
From what I understand, it probably doesn't include the secret level, but some of the other stuff is because it's anywhere from like I see lowballed of like 50 million to 175 million was I saw it, but the most common.
I mean more the secret level episode because that can cost a bit.
At least a handful of dollars, probably more than the sales are going to account
multi-dollar costs.
At least
Did this game have anything to do with Amazon? Or am I misremembering something?
No, I do not. That's okay. I think Amazon, the one you might be thinking of is Blue Protocol.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
okay, continue. My bad.
Oh yeah. So the biggest criticisms that people had and reviewers had was there's no innovative gameplay mechanics. It's all things we've seen before. So it just plays and feels like any other hero shooter on the market. Its heroes are generic, uninspired, and there's like nothing done to make them stand out. And I believe you had said, Kyler, that they were designed by committee, correct?
They were. Yeah, I did figure that out.
Remember we talked about that. Yeah, that's an interesting choice.
Do you have any more information on that committee?
I don't. It was a complaint that one of the devs had made on I think it was a Reddit or X post, basically saying that the design for the characters was done via committee, and that their actual character design team and leads had a troubled time to actually like create characters themselves. Now that's not like a quote or anything. I'm paraphrasing that, so just as a disclaimer. But it's definitely like a thing where if you have people that you hire to make characters, that's what they do. You should probably just let them do that, and instead of just having a bunch of people just like vote on features on a character, because that's how you get very boring characters.
Yeah, just generic as hell. This character appeals to. That's kind of the thing, because in a hero shooter, right, certain characters appeal to certain people and some absolutely do not. When you have like a committee, it seems, deciding how the characters are made, they're going to be made to appeal to the most people, which is exactly the opposite of that mindset. Yep. I don't want to play I want to play a very specific kind of character, and every other character can go fuck. Like, yeah. And so if you make all the characters generic, you end up with this boring palette. And man, looking at the hero lineup, there's nothing going on here. They're bland, colorless. Like there's color, but it's like one character's bright green, another one's bright purple. It's just very bland, and the art style is not. Overwatch has like a very noticeable art style, and this is giving me predecessor vibes of like nothing's going on here.
Too realistic with no artistic expression. That's how I would describe it. The only character I was ever interested in was the robot, and he doesn't look interesting at all, like design wise.
But he throws trash.
He throws trash. That was like he has a vacuum. That's pretty funny.
He's just like he just looks like a big like keg on legs and arms, right? Like
yeah.
Yep.
He's not.
Maybe he's yellow.
He's not winning any like fashion prizes or anything. He doesn't look that great, but I like his vacuum thing he's got going on. That's pretty cool.
What if he wants to be fabulous?
And they should have given him like a suit. I don't know.
No, he's dead now.
Maybe.
He's dead now.
Hey man, you want his kid to make the trash can look better than a trash can? That'll be $20. Thank you and goodbye.
It'll look like an actual trash can, and it'll cost $20. And I'll pay for it. I will. Give me the trash can.
I'll pay for it. Give me.
But yeah. So uninspired. The characters are boring. The combat's not great. Was there anything else? Was there anything redeemable? Like, was anything good?
Because the other big complaints are, the fact that it releases at $40 in the current market, where most big hero shooters now have gone free to play.
Yep.
And apparently its map design is terrible.
I was just gonna say,
we cannot have that.
I watched the gameplay trailer. Right, I remember because I remember looking at the kits. That's how I knew I wanted to play the robot guy, because I saw his little like tornado thing he got going on. I couldn't tell you what the map looked like. Like in my mind, it's like those missions in like Assassin's Creed or Warframe where you're just in this like void and there's like walls. So there's walls, but they have no texture at all. That's what I remember from the maps in Concord watching that trailer. I couldn't tell you a single feature of it, to be completely honest with you. It is like just a void in my mind. I could totally see the maps being absolutely awful too.
There's like, the only thing I remember is like there's one map, I think, that has like a half circle area with some pillars in it, and that's like all I remember. I couldn't point out a single other.
That's what I'm thinking of is that exact thing too, but I can't tell you what any of it looks like besides that there's pillars there.
Like, I can't tell you what anything looks like because I never saw gameplay.
Oh man,
I just heard it was stank. That was it.
No, don't worry, dog. It's not about the gameplay. This is really just a long con for video game collectors to buy up the last remaining copies and resell them for what? Tens of thousands of dollars, apparently?
They're going for $25,000, I believe. It's like
wait, the physical copies?
Yes, physical copies are going for like $25,000 supposedly.
Jesus Christ.
What the fuck? Play if you wanted to.
Yeah, fuck that, dude. I understand collecting, but like, if it's a game, I want to be able to have a chance to fucking play it.
You know what? If you're able to sell that to someone, you deserve the money. That's crazy.
For real.
Like, come on, man. Oh, that's insane that like they had such a cooking pot of just all the wrong decisions. Like if anything wrong they could have done, they just about did. And even the decision, like as a new studio, even if you have the like executives from Bungie and everything, to just immediately jump into a AAA game and take I guess not the IP, but basically the work of a different studio that had already been working on it and just say, this is mine now. I guess this is what you get. Like, this is terrible.
Yeah. So, after all this fiasco happens, about 11 days later, on September 3rd, it is announced that all copies of the game are going to be refunded, and then it would be shutting down in 3 days on the 6th.
Oh,
Even to this day,
refunded.
there's still technically, I say this day like it isn't 2 days after the servers went offline, that it's still got 5 players. Like there's still 5 or 6 people still in there. Yeah, they just have the game open. So Steam Charts is reporting them as playing Concord. They haven't given up hope. They have faith.
Wait, but the servers aren't running. The servers are shut down.
The servers are shut down. There's nothing you can do with the game. It's literally just 5 to 6 people have the game open at any given moment.
I remember people seeing that people were killing themselves and stuff to like get Steam achievements.
Yeah, for the PlayStation, for the Platinum Trophy. Yep. The news article was like something like Concord players are jumping off cliffs, which was definitely an interesting thing. But then it finished the statement in game to try and complete achievements or something. It was something like that. I was like, that's a headline.
Oh man.
Yep. And when it was announced to be shut down, Sony said that it would be exploring options on how to better reach its players.
You should advertise your
shoot
game.
Him a phone call. Be like, hey, have you heard of our game Concord?
It's just they're gonna knock at people's doors. Probably have a better marketing campaign than whatever the fuck Sony did.
Get some telemarketers.
Do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior and also Concord?
Actually, just Concord?
Oh my god.
There's no God here. Talk about Concord.
Please help. They have my family hostage. Yeah, and then after they take the game offline, Firewalk has stated that they're looking for what direction they could take the game. They want to do something with it that just no idea what. Most common idea I see people toss around is that it's going to go potentially free to play in the future under a re-release. But I
absolutely should.
It's not going to save it. I don't think going free to play has ever saved this type of game.
I'm pretty sure they're just gonna reuse the assets, because the problem is even trying to release it as like free to play, it's very difficult to like escape that mindset of this was a failed game. And the games that are able to do it are like, they're famous for it because it's so hard. Like if you think about No Man's Sky, that released as just an absolute mess, and everyone knows that game and everyone knows the story of it now. Final Fantasy 14. They were able to do it, but you don't hear many more other than that because it's hard to do. I honestly think it would be a mistake to just try to keep, whatever they got going under a free-to-play game. I don't think it would work because the game has so many flaws from the sounds of it. It's not just like a price point issue. Everything's wrong with it. They're better off just trying to make something else with it.
The really interesting thing about this is that it sold 25,000 copies, which puts it as like one of the all-time worst software failures of all time, if not the biggest hardware or software failure in video game history. Because even things like the old ET game from like 1983 still sold 1.4 million copies, and that game is partially responsible for literally crashing the market and costing $1 billion. Like
that game was a travesty.
Like they had to, you know what they had to do with all the extra copies of ET that were being refunded?
Didn't they landfill them?
Yeah, they buried them somewhere in the desert. I think in Arizona. There's literally some place in Arizona that is just hundreds of thousands of copies of ET just buried in the dirt. The really interesting thing about this is that Concord worked. There was no major bugs. The servers didn't explode. It worked on launch when you booted the game up, but just no one cared. Like, no one whatsoever cared about this game, but it worked. Because most times when games fail like this, it's because they're buggy, they're broken, you can't play them. There's so many issues with them. Concord really didn't have issues. Besides, they weren't like all the way back from a design standpoint. Like they're not things you can fix in 2 weeks with patches.
Well, this is why I've said before why like a lot of studios a huge portion of their budget is marketing, because, you know, you compare this game to Fallout 76. Fallout 76, at the end of the day, even though they were one of the buggiest games that's ever been released by a AAA studio, probably ever, to be honest with you. But it's Fallout, and everyone knows about the game. It's extremely popular. People still played it despite that. You have Phil Spencer of Xbox, you know, saying how he's playing the game. And now it does really well, you know? No one knows what Concord is. No one knows Firewalk Studio or anything. It's just all just marketing perception of the IP. And that's just that's just how it goes.
I said, I never seen gameplay.
Yeah. I'm like saddened by that, but I'm not surprised by it. It's totally just that's just what it is. Like there's not enough people that know about this game. There's too many games out there in general to expect people to know about it beyond its failures.
Yeah, most of the stuff I've seen on Concord came from just researching this. Like, I had no idea that, like, for example, like, there's some character, I don't know if it's a universal thing that can dodge, but it puts the camera in third person. I was like, oh, that's a thing that happens. Mm-hmm. I'm like, this is the most I've ever seen of this game. So we have like so many games failing. We have tons of games that don't work properly right now. Even like just basic like frame rate issues. How come, Fliz? Well, why is this happening?
Ooh, are we done with Concord?
Yep.
Is everybody done with Concord in the world?
I mean, I would hope. You can't really do anything with it now.
Except for those 5 players that haven't closed the game yet.
Yeah, those are the real heroes. They're going to be like that Hello Kitty guy on Steam that has like 3,000 hours in Hello Kitty.
I guess a legend.
I want to interview him sometime. I got brought down a little bit of a rabbit hole. And keep in mind, this is not my area of expertise in any fashion. So take what I say with a bit of a grain of salt. But I kind of got turned on to this. I think, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably a pro-union TikToker. It was called More Perfect Union, and it threw this video at me one day, just randomly. And it was kind of talking about why video games are as bad as they are right now. Where, you know, you have studios shutting down constantly. You have stuff that releases that barely works. You have, it's just a plethora of, like, you used to buy a game, you know, I'm gonna sound like an old man. You used to buy a game, put it in, and then you played the game until you beat it. That was it. And now there's just, that's not a thing really. And a big part of that is actually due to COVID. And you wouldn't automatically assume that, but basically gaming had kind of been on a steady increase as an industry, right? And people have been kind of keeping an eye on it for a long time. But it really became like the powerhouse that it is in 2019, 2020. Everybody's stuck at home with COVID. Everybody's, you know, on lockdown. All there is to do is play games. Everybody's streaming. Everybody, like, I made good money in those years as a streamer. I thought I had a career to you know, on the way. And as I found out, that was definitely a bit of a bubble. Because of that extreme increase in revenue for the gaming industry, a lot of conglomerates or big companies suddenly jumped in, right? And so 2 of the main ones that I kind of was focused on is this one group called Embracer Group. And Embracer Group kind of joined the market around that time, maybe a little before. And they own all kinds of stuff at this point. They bought like THQ Nordic, Deca, Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal. They own Dark Horse Comics. They own Asmode, which does Settlers of Catan. Like they're in it in all kinds of gaming stuff. And this is the company is like over 50% Saudi Arabian owned, right? And this is kind of what we've been talking about, especially back when we were talking about the Olympics, the esports Olympics being a real thing. This is pretty much Saudi funded. The other company is also Saudi owned. And by Saudi owned, I mean like the CEOs are named like Crown Prince and King. And, you know, this is like real money. This is money you can't believe exists until you see it. And Savvy, they bought like Scopely the other year, which is like the #1 mobile games company in the US, 4th in the world, I think. But so basically a lot of our video gaming is owned by Saudi Arabia at this point, right? And these are all investment groups. They're just there to make money. Like I think the thing on Embracer Group's actual page is one of their I can't remember what they're called, but like when you in these investor groups, they have like profile pages they do to advertise themselves, and it's all this synergy and like the main thing they basically say is we do what's good for the investor absolutely all the time. That's I'm paraphrasing because I couldn't find the actual quote, but that's what it was basically like. These people are not really about gaming. They're about making investors money. And it's all about, having your fiscal quarters and your years look the best they can. And it's slowly transferred, not even that slowly. I mean, it's really noticeable now where putting out a game that's good is not enough. It has to be some sort of live service, continuous income. So, like that's why games come out and some like if some like Concord, they're not going to wait to make money. They're going to dump it and start throwing resources somewhere else. It's the only, because then it looks good for that fiscal quarter, right?
Yeah.
It's literally all for investors at this point. And sadly, after COVID, the gaming industry has definitely been on it. Maybe might be worth more, generally speaking. I know mobile games take up most of the market. Like mobile games make more money yearly worldwide than I would almost think every other gaming anything.
My number is old. I remember at some point a few years ago, it was literally 80% of the video game market.
Yeah. Like mobile gaming, especially across the sea, is like everything. Yeah. That's where all the money is.
I think.
And it sucks because, well, like in COVID, a lot of studios were getting created, right? Because everybody just kind of, it's the same thing with like the housing bubble. I know this is kind of boring stuff for anybody who likes video games, but like it's these bubbles happen in every section of where money goes,
the economy.
And the economy. God, man, sometimes it's hot in here. I'm sorry. So, the problem with that is after the bubble burst, all these companies have way more employees than they ever, they didn't project that would happen for whatever reason. I was looking at all these old projections and they kind of just went up and up and up, and nobody ever figured, oh, well, people are going to go outside again. And they did, and they had to. And then everything just kind of crashed as far as what these companies are worth to investors. Not the money's still there in the gaming industry. It's just that these companies lost a lot of what their shares were worth. Mm-hmm. And that's a big part of why you're getting all these layoffs and studio closures, is it's literally just people looking at the bottom line. There's no regard for how good a game is or how this developer's got history. And it's like when we were that guy from Hi-Fi Rush posting all his trophies and stuff and saying, I guess this doesn't mean anything. He's after his company got shut down, that he's right. It doesn't mean anything. These people it's not about, this is just a business to them. And it's become much worse in the last couple of years than it ever has before. And, with all these devs laid off and stuff, like these devs during COVID relocated to like whole other cities. They brought their families. And then when they get fired, right? Like it's them and then like the 10,000 other devs who also got laid off. So there's just nothing for them.
Yeah.
They're stuck in a place, like it's a horrible situation for devs. And I think that was like kind of the basis of this video, is why unions are so important to, especially, I think we talked about it in one of our first episodes. Like there needs to be more regulation, more unions, because this stuff can just happen. And you think, well, a dev can just go get another job at, this place. Well, if that dev spent 10 years doing FPS games, you can't just hire them to do an MMO and it'll be fine. Like it just doesn't work that way. They're very specialized. FPS. Yeah, but we'll see how that goes.
No, they don't last long.
No, we've actually mentioned this before, because, and this is more of a greater insight into it, but there was a game director from, I believe it was Square Enix, I could be wrong, where he was talking about similar things about the industry and why we see all this stuff happening. And he said that it does not matter how well a game or how good a game is. At the end of the day, the executives only look at one thing. How much does it cost to make the game? And how much money could we make if we took that cost into the stock market compared to the game?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If the stock market is bigger, the game is a failure. Even if it makes money. If we could have made more in the stock market, the game is a failure, shut it down. We do something else.
It's absolutely that.
Yep, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's garbage.
Well, I mean, it's capitalism, dog. Like, that's just what it is. And it's sad because these companies own like tons of it's not like you think like your favorite studio's making a game, and they kind of are, but also that game can disappear the next day if, its sales could have just been reinvested into the stock market and it would have made more money. Then that's out the door. And that's kind of shitty. And it's not kind of shitty. It really is. And this is, like I said, these are Sarli groups, and these are also Savvy, the company I was talking about before. That's the one who invested so much into the esports Olympics, right?
Oh,
So it all kind of connects to these Saudi Arabian conglomerates buying up everything you know and love and then milking it for everything it's worth. And if it doesn't, what all the people saying, petitioning for this game or that game or saying our opinions matter, they don't. They just fucking don't. There's nothing you could do that matters if they could have made more money just putting the money in the stock market. Which just sucks. And so that's why it's, it sucks for like being a game dev, man. That's like a dream job for so many people. And it's just such a terrible industry.
It has multiple facets to it because you have, again, COVID, which I didn't actually think about how the reason we're seeing like the aggressiveness of layoffs and studio closings are just investors basically almost trying to bail out. That's what it sounds like. And
it pretty much is that. Yeah. It didn't meet the expectations. Like COVID showed us going to double, triple what it is now if it followed that same trend. But people went back outside. So now all those employees you hired are just costing you money.
Yeah. So they're literally just like,
back.
Get a game out. Okay, here's their game. They made some money. Get rid of them. Next in line, get a game out, make some money. That's really what's happening. And
it's not even if the game does well. It's if the game has a future that will continuously make more than it's worth to just sell it off. You cannot just make a game that sells 1 million copies. Like, that doesn't matter as long as the other option is release something with microtransactions that you can just season pass and all that. Like, that's the only stuff that matters anymore.
Mm-hmm. And the other side effect too that is happening is with more live service games coming out, you have a thinning of the market because there's only so many people that play games and spend money on them. So if you have multiple games that are coming out that are all live service games, people spend their times on generally like 1 to 3 of them. So it's harder for other game devs to make stuff because, how are you going to compete with fucking Microsoft and Call of Duty and all this other garbage when they have so many more resources? What are you supposed to do? And
you're not just go for it.
And then you have indie games. They're so much easier to make games now with the engines that are available, like Godot and similar ones, and also AI as well. But that also causes an increase in market because the easier it is to make a game, the more games there are going to be. And with COVID kind of going away and less people playing games, but more games are being created, you thin it out even more. So I guess I could see definitely why like games are kind of in like a really shit state right now.
And you're not even really competing with the quality of a game. You're competing with people's need to not miss things. The FOMO effect of people like, I got to complete the battle pass on this game, so I can't devote time here or here. And And you can't fight that. You really can't. Unless you're already in an established situation that has the same kind of product, basically, to push out to people. I just thought that was like super sad that it's the idea that none of our opinions, none of our Reddit threads, none of this shit really matters unless you're talking like to a small studio that's like owned by the devs themselves, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of out of luck, and we're just going to continue to see, you know, and it's kind of entertainment properties across the board where if it doesn't immediately, it doesn't even matter if it immediately succeeds. If it doesn't have like a continuous growth aspect to it, it's just dead in the water. So that was kind of what I had. It was interesting to see that all this stuff that we talked about kind of led back to these few companies that have a very clear goal, as stated on their own websites, to make money regardless of how it affects the industry itself.
Yeah.
So
guess we weren't too far off the mark with our rambling.
We were kind of right on it.
Yeah.
You know? I didn't realize, like, I was all excited for the esports thing only to find out that, it's all kind of in the same boat with the reason why shit's bad. It's all about money, man.
Depressing.
It really is.
I mean, to put like maybe not a positive spin, but more to kind of to mellow it out, you know, we're only really going to hear about like the really bad stuff most of the time. There's still tons of like indie development studios that are working on great stuff that are super successful. Look at Supervive. I mean, Supervive is a fantastic game, just a bunch of devs from a bunch of different projects cobbled together, and they're making stuff. You have a bunch of the original co-founders of Blizzard. They have their own studios now, and they're making stuff. There's still so many other like projects that are being worked on that's not AAA that still do really well. It's just whenever you hear gaming news, it's a lot of like studio closings, because that's what's also, you know, it's what people want to read about. That's what people click on.
I don't want to read about that. I don't want that.
Maybe not you, but a lot of people, that's what's interesting news when it comes to gaming, is for some reason it's a lot of the bad news. But there's still a lot of indie games that are out there that do very well.
Let me bring it back down for you. If that game does well enough, it just gets bought up by one of these groups and then turned into the same shit.
True, but then if it doesn't go well, then that group they leave again. Another indie studio gets made, and the cycle repeats over and over.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, it's
pretty
not
much how it is.
Yeah, it's not like an end of the world kind of thing. I think
none of this is. It's video games.
I think the only thing that that really suffers in the gaming industry is probably like a lot of the artists right now are struggling, and a lot of the writers. That's like the two positions I see in gaming that really struggle, because they're just slowly being replaced by AI for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, I'd see devs also, just devs in general. I think anybody in the industry is struggling because you're just so replaceable right now.
Yeah, devs
jumped on that, and now it's gone, and nobody has anywhere else to go.
Yeah, devs are being phased out, I think, slower, but definitely like artists and writers right now are kind of in the pits.
Yeah. So that's that. Did you guys see that big old dick on the Call of Duty character?
What?
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
I haven't followed any
what?
Call of Duty stuff. That is out of nowhere.
Yeah, there it is.
I just wanted to bring it back up a little bit.
Y'all look at
Call of
dicks.
Duty 6 had a character come out, one of their operators, and he's got a Pringles can hidden in his jeans. You can see it.
Like,
No
that's
way.
the first thing you noticed.
It's bad. Like, it's very noticeable. Someone was having fun with that model.
Equal representation. Let's go.
I don't even know what to look up. What do I even look up to try and find this?
I can get it for you in a minute once we're done here.
He's got it saved to his phone. Don't
You're
worry
goddamn
about
right, I do.
It's in a special folder no one else can see.
It's my special shrine.
Call of Duty dick pics.
Praying to big dick.
Just a random folder called Pringle Dick.
That's my favorite folder. You guys got any more news, or are we pretty much good to go?
Yeah, that's all I got.
I guess that's it.
What
a note to end on.
Well, just look up Call of Duty operators for yourself. They'll probably change it, so do it fast.
Yeah.
Get your Pringles dick before time
Get
runs
your
out.
money's worth.
Y'all ever see that
money's worth.
character with a Pringle can as a
All right, well, thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Jacob, for that deep dive. I really appreciate that because I wanted to know more about Concord and I didn't want to look it up.
Same.
I didn't
It
know
sounds like it was
either.
difficult too, so I'm glad you did it.
It was. He spent hours, dog, multiple days trying to find stuff on this game, and you just can't.
It's like nothing. Like no one wants to talk about it. There's nothing to say. No one cared. No one cared to report on it. Let's just play
It's a
it.
bit of sadness. Nobody knew it existed, and nobody cared when it died.
It was most popular when it died because everyone was talking about how it failed so bad.
We'll find YouTube videos where they had people to talk to. Anyway, that's in the future. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining as well. I appreciate your input and the fun time we have. If anybody listening would like to send any comments or questions our way, please hit up giantenemycrabpod@gmail.com, and we will catch you next week with I don't know. We'll find some. I'm sure there's some we'll have. Somebody will get laid off.
Warhammer.
Oh yeah, Warhammer.
Yep.
You guys are gonna play Warhammer, so I'll find something to play myself, so I have something to talk about. And
Just you all alone in the corner, just playing.
Dude, kind of. The fact that game is 3 players is like I'm genuinely upset about that.
Yeah.
And not only that, but even the PvP 6v6 mode, you can't party with more than 2 of your friends. So, like, no matter what, one of us is getting left out. You guys like Warhammer more than I do, so I'm going to let you guys have it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're welcome.
So humble.
All right. I think that's it. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
You should do a Minecraft deep dive. That'd be funny.
Shut up. No.